Okay, we left off
Recording in progress.
on page um, Zion. It's the third page of the copies. The second paragraph on the page, the small paragraph, we're essentially speaking about when we make brachas. The Zohar says, and we mentioned also other Rishonim holders, that when it says "Vaachalt, ושבעת, וברכת Hashem Elokecha," that it's referring to not the way commonly we learn in the Gemara. It's referring to birchas hamazon, benching after eating, but rather it is referring to benching or making brachas before eating. We asked, one of the questions is, why does it have to do specifically with ואכלת ושבעת וברכת? Why does it say that if it's the benching before eating? That was one of the questions we asked at the beginning of the Maimer. We started to go in more what it says in the Zohar, that Baruch shows on the level of Yisoid, of Chochmah, and that comes down in Ata Havaya Elokeinu. We were speaking about that this Yisoid of Chochmah is the level of Yud, Vav, Daled. In Spheres, there are two ways of explaining the Yud, Vav, Daled in the Spheres. Either the Yud, Vav, Daled in the Spheres is referring to Yud is the Chochmah, Das is the level of the Vav that comes down, and then there is the level of Daled is Bina, or there, and that fits in with the expression that the Zohar says, la'araka, la'amshacha, u'lenahara, to pour and to draw down and to illuminate. And then we also spoke about Yud, Vav, Daled could be a different way. Then this was the way that Rabbi's father explained it. Yud, Vav, Daled, which is the makeup of the letter Yud, can be Chachma, Bina, Das, and then it goes just the opposite in these three expressions that we said: La'anhara, to shine; La'amshacha, to draw down; or La'araka, and to pour. So we said that La'anhara, to shine, that's the level of Chachma, because Chachma is about an oir without kelim. La'amshacha, that's the vav, that's the bina. Ula'araka, and to pour over, that's the level of das. So we learned two ways of explaining these three expressions of the Zohar that are coming down, what comes down from the Baruch, from Yisoid Abba, how it comes down. Then the Rebbe explains that the Zohar, though, has a different approach and looks at the word anhara a little bit different. That's what we're going to talk about on page Zion, the third page of the Maimer, second paragraph on the page. Ella shekan b'Zohar u'biyurav, over here on this parsha, on the Zohar and its explanations, hadiuk b'lashoin la'anhara ha'ora v'loy oir, the usage over here is la'anhara, is that it is an illumination, a ray. It's not the light itself, as opposed to le'araka, when you say pouring, it's not a ray. A ray indicates that it's not the substance itself. Like, for example, the ray of the sun versus the sun. When you contrast that with the word le'araka, which means pouring, that means shenimshach etzem hadavar. So therefore, the way the Rebbe explains, in the Zohar's understanding of the difference between Lanhara and Araka, we are contrasting, like other places in Chassidus would use the terminology, the essence versus the ray. The essence is exemplified in the term La'araka, to pour, and a ray, which is not the essence, that is something that is just secondary, ancillary, insignificant to the essence. So he's saying, why is La'araka the essence? She'ein kli she'tishana ha'or di yisoid Abba. Because as we said before, that Chachma is oir without the vessel to contain it, and therefore, since it's the oir without the vessel to contain it, it doesn't have the limitation. It hasn't been watered down. It hasn't come down to the level of the oir itself. It hasn't come down to being just a ray. As opposed to das. Das, we also know, has something to do with the pnimius, the innermost level. But over there, the difference between das and chachma is that das comes down, the actual the actual oil is like, comes through and via a keli. So therefore, when we talk about the lanhara, that is light itself, that is the level of chachma. When we're talking about pouring over, that is the level of das, which is also the pnimius, and it comes down through the vessel. Essentially, just explaining the three lishonis of the Zohar, of Lanhara, Lamshacha, La'araka, whether, how we refer it to the different spheres, how it will come out like the Zohar, how it would come out like the explanations of the Zohar, the Mitler Rebbe, and the Tzemach Tzedek, versus the explanations of the Rebbe's father. That is, we're finished and done with that topic. We're going to proceed to Ois Gimel, top of page Ches. The Zohar, after it says that from Baruch, which is Yisoid Abba, comes out the levels of Vav and Dalid, which is pouring over and pouring down and drawing down and illuminating. So afterwards, the Zohar says as follows. Mamshech the Zohar Sham, the Zohar continues over there. Umitamon chulu, from there, the Ihu Ktsei Hashamayim, that is the ends of heaven. It's an expression in the Torah that says the ends of heaven. Hahi Ktsei Kotze Ilah Ninu. That end is the higher end. In other words, when we're dealing with ends, anytime you're dealing with an end, there is the higher end and there's the lower end. So when it says that it's coming over there to the ends of the heaven, it's talking about the higher level, the higher end. What is that level, that higher end that it's coming down into, that we're being mamshich, we're pouring, and we're illuminating, and we're drawing down? So it's explained, line 3, V'hainu sham shocha de la roka lam shocha lanhara. This drawing down of these three expressions of pouring and drawing down and illuminating, hu lebchinas bina. It's to the level of bina. We said Baruch is the yisoid of Chachma, and that's coming into bina. What does Ktsei Hashamayim fit in over here? As it's known, Shektsei Ilah Dashamayim hu bina. The upper end of heaven is the level of bina. There is the lower end, like we said, that's towards the end of Atzilus. The upper end of heaven, That is the level of Bina. And now the Rebbe asks, didn't we just say that the Hamshacha of La'araka, La'amshacha, L'nara is referring to Chachma, Bina, and Das? How are you telling me it's talking about that say Hashemayim is coming down to Bina? It already had Chachma, Bina, Das. It's already down in Das seemingly. So the Rebbe is going to explain. You remember we said it's the Yud and the Yud Vav Daled that make up the letter Yud. When we're talking about earlier, Chachma Bino Das is the level of La'araka, La'amshacha, La'nahara. That's all Chachma Bino Das within Chachma. And then that comes down to Ktsei Hashamayim, to the ends of the heavens, the level of Bina. Bina as it's on its own, not Bina the way it's in Chachma. Let's see it inside. Line 5, end of our line. There's no contradiction between this and what was explained earlier. The three expressions, to pour and to draw down, ulan hara and to shine, they indicate the three levels of Chachma, Bina, and Das. So it's not a contradiction. The three levels of Chachma, Bina, Das that are hinted in the three expressions of pouring, drawing down, and illuminating. By the way, the Zohar doesn't identify it with those spheres. Those are the later writings that identify it with the spheres. So he's saying, Heim bechinas chachma, bina, v'das, k'moy sheklulim b'chachma. That, the three lashonis of la'araka, la'amshacha, la'anhara, is talking about the chachma, bina, das, the way they are still in chachma. U'k'moyshin is boile, like we explained previously, shesholish bechinas elu, that these three levels of la'araka, la'amshacha, la'nahara, chachma, bina, das, hem shloisha oisius yud vav daled sheba oisiud. These are the three letters that are used to phonetically spell out the letter yud. They're part of the letter Yud that has the Yud and the Vav and the Dalet to spell it out. Varei ois Yud gam milui Vav Dalet shebayu b'chinas Chachma. The letter Yud, even the milui, even the letters that fill it out phonetically are called the milui of the word, the letter. So even the Vav and Daled of the Ois Yud, they're still part of Yud. They're still part of Chachma. Once you have the Baruch, La'araka, La'amshacha, La'nahara, from the different levels in Chachma, so then it comes out L'Ktsei HaShamayim. The Zohar says to the level of Bina. We're going to continue further in the Zohar. Like I said, there's a lot of Kabbalah over here. Eventually, the mimer is going to loosen up a little bit on the Kabbalah part. Line 16, second paragraph of the page. Mamshech levayer b'Zohar Sham, and he continues to explain over there in the Zohar. Hemshech nusach habracha, the continuation of the language of the bracha that says, after Baruch, it says, Ata havaya lekenu. The words Ata havaya lekenu is indicating further levels in spheres in the Hamshacha. Ata, you, levasar, shari, lizgalia, meaning hascholas, ha'inyan hagilui, the beginning of the idea of the revelation. In other words, it begins now from the Ata. That means you. We'll soon talk about Ata's Lashon Noichach. It's facing the person. So therefore, it is talking about the beginning of revelation. We're talking directly to you, Hashem. Ata, I'm sorry. The ha hai baruch sosum ihu. Before we say Ata, we're talking about Baruch. Baruch, the Zohar says, is still closed off. It's still hidden. Mekaira ilah, the law is Galia. It's the supernal source that's not revealed. Ukenisker la'el shubechinas chachma, like it's mentioned previously, it's the level of chachma. Chachma is still on its own beyond revelation. That's why we need to pour, and we need to draw down, and we need to shine and reveal. Aval ata, as opposed to the word level of ata. Sheirusa lizgalya levar. It's the beginning. It starts to become revealed outside. Ubegin kach ikra ata. Because of that, it's called you. Because you is something that's right in front of us. It's second person. It's revealed to us. Mamshich, and then he continues, Dar Raza Diyamina. The level of Ata is the secret of the right. What is the right? Right has to do with Chesed. Chesed is also, it's coming down, it's giving, it's revealing. He's going to bring a pasuk to associate between Ata and the level of Chesed, like it says, Ata koyen la'olam. Ata, the level of Ata is a koyen everlastingly. As we know that koyen is bechinas Chesed, he says in the parentheses. We know koyen, Levi, Yisrael is Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. So when it says Ata koyen la'olam, we know koyen is a level of Chesed. So the same thing, the level of Ata is also the level of Chesed, the right, it's the revelation. Havaya, at Baruch Ata Havaya Lekeinu. Havaya Yudke Vavke, Da Razadam Tzeisa. That is the secret of the center line, Bechinas Tiferes. We know that Yudke Vavke, all the different names of Hashem have to do with different spheres. Shem Kel is in Chesed. Shem Elokim is in Gvura. Adonai, like we have in Sharich V'Emunah, has to do with Malchus, so on and so forth. Tzvokis have to do with Netzach and Hoid. Shem Yud Kei Vavke is specifically in the center line, and in the center line itself, specifically in the sphere of Tiferes. So we have Ata is Chesed, Havaya is Tiferes, and Elokeinu is the Sitra de Smola. That's the left side. Bechinas HaGvura, the level of Gvura. As we know, Shem Elokim, as I just mentioned, is the name of Gvura. So we have Baruch, we're drawing down from that concealed level of Chachma, through K'tzei HaShamayim, then we have Ata, Havaya, Elokeinu, is Chesed, Tiferes, and Gvura, right, left, and center. The Hainu, this means Sha'ata Havaya Lekeinu, Heim Shloisha Hakavim, the Chesed, Gvura, V'Tiferes, that these three words that follow in the bracha, Ata Havaya Lekeinu, is the three lines of Chesed and Gevura and Tiferes. Now he goes on, V'hine Isa B'Zoyer Sham, Ois Daled, bottom of the page. It's brought down the Zohar, Raza, the Razin, the secret of secrets, Hainu, Soid comes. This is what's brought down, a concealed secret, Leminda Raza de Birchoin, to know that the secret of the brachas, b'pikude araisa, which is a mitzvah min ha-Torah, like we said, the Zohar says, ubechol hanoin v'kisufin dahai alma, and in every delight, in every enjoyment, in every pleasure of this world, la'arakon bircha'on me'elo letato, to pour brachas from above to below. That is the idea of the birchas hanenin. Bar bircha'on ditzloisa, top of page test. The Zohar says that this rule, that the brachas bring down from above to below, that is except for the brachas of davening. What we're talking about up till now is the brachas of pleasure, what's called birchas hanehenin. Soon we'll mention we're also talking about birchas ha-mitzvahs, the brachas for mitzvahs. But brachas of davening is not about pouring down from above to below, but rather mitata le'ela. First, it is going from below to above. That's what davening is about. And then, afterwards, ume'ela letata, and then it goes from above to below. That's what the Zohar says. So now we're going to bring again the commentary and explanation of the Mittler Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek on the Zohar. So he says in line 2, it's explained at length in the explanations of the Zohar, the Mittler Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek, Shagam shenusach habrocha b'reishisa baruchato Hashem chulu hakoil echod. Though the language of the brachas at the beginning, the initial language of the brachas, at the end, there depends what you're making a bracha on. You're making a bracha on mezuzah, it's not the same bracha that you make on bread. But the beginning of the language of the brachas is the same. Whether it's a bracha on mitzvahs, whether it's a bracha on delights, or whether it's a bracha of Shemoneh Esrei, they all begin with the same formula. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu. Hakoil echad, they're all the same. Bein bebirchas ha-mitzvahs, whether it's the bracha of mitzvahs bikuda d'oraisa, whether it's, which is the mitzvahs min ha-Torah. So that's what it meant over here, bikuda d'oraisa. I'm sorry, I mistranslated it. Before, when he brought from the Zohar, the birchoin, the bikuda d'oraisa, the brachas on mitzvahs min ha-Torah, not the idea that we said before that brachas are mitzvah min ha-Torah, but the brachas on mitzvahs of the Torah, and also birchas hanenin in the brachas that we make on delights, kol hanoim kisufim b'hai alma, all the delights and pleasures of this world, as ubein b'bracha d'tzloisa, and also brachas of davening share the same opening language. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu. Mikol Malchim, still and all, he says in line 7, Bechinos hakavon bahen einon doimim zelaz klal, the levels of intention and meaning between the brachas of delight versus the brachas of davening are not similar whatsoever. Umevur Shaman's explained over there shebirchas hamitzvos ubirchas hanenin hime'elu l'tzato, that the birchas hamitzvos and birchas hanenin, the Zohar says, they're coming down from above, down below. Baruch koyal amshachim yisoid abba, and Baruch is referring to drawing down from yisoid of chachma shenimshach b'chinas hahelam the keser. That initially it begins from the concealment of keser. Umesham nimshach la'arok olam shach olam haran, like we mentioned and we spoke about it, from there, from that concealment of Keser, which comes down to Yisoid of Chachma, it's poured and drawn down and it's illuminated. L'shalish b'chinas at havaya l'keinu, to the 3 levels of at havaya l'keinu, sheb'chesed gvura v'teferes k'nisker la'el, it's chagas, like we mentioned earlier. Mashenkin b'tfilah, as opposed to davening. She'ikra u'tfilas ha'amida. In davening, the primary part of davening is Shemoneh Esrei, which is in brachas b'choil. There's 18 brachas during the weekday. Sheva brachas b'Shabbos u'Yom Tov. On Shabbos u'Yom Tov there is 7 brachas, the 3 introductory, the 3 final bracha, plus 1 center bracha about Shabbos or Yom Tov. and Teisha brachas b'Rosh Hashanah chulu, and there's 9 brachas on Rosh Hashanah, the 3 introductory, 3 concluding brachas, and the 3 brachas on Malchus, Zechroinus, and Shofros. But all those types of Shemoneh Esrei, all those variations of Tfilas HaMidah, their common denominator is that they are different than the brachas that we make on food and on mitzvahs. Hareza Molmata Lamaila is from above to below. It's the ladder that's coming, that's standing on the ground, and its head reaches to the tops. And Baruch is referring over here in the brachas of Shemoneh Esrei, not like we said before in Yisoid of Chachma. The brachas of Shemoneh Esrei is referring to Yisoid of the Shisha Midas. That we have Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Yisoid of Zeir Anpin. Shemashpia la Malchus, it gives to Malchus. Shu Inyan l'chadoidi l'kras Kala, it's the level of go, my beloved, towards the Kala. The Kala is Malchus. The doidi, the beloved, is the Yisoid that's Mashpia to Malchus. And then, like we mentioned right away at the beginning, after there's the Amshacha, Malmaila Lamata, Va'achre Zanasis, afterwards becomes the elevation to all the levels we spoke about before, the Chesed Gvura Tiferes, the level of Bina, the level of the Yud Vav Daled, the Chachma Bina Das, that's in Chachma. We'll stop over here.